Um, you got it. Hi everyone, my name is Elise. I am a fourth year history major at UCLA. My career goal right now is to work in college administration or work as an instructor, professor at a community college in history. And as far as responsibilities outside of the classroom go, I am currently working as a student support, I guess, contractor here at GCC. And I also work as a research assistant at UCLA. I'll pass it off to Erica.
Thank you, Elise. Hello, everyone. My name is Erica De Leon. I'm a second-year transfer at UCLA, and my major is comparative literature. Last quarter, I took up an education studies minor, and as of right now, my career goal is to be either a teacher or an academic counselor. I'm not sure yet. I'm kind of bouncing between the two, so we'll see. Out of the classroom, I am PTSP's social chair. So PTSP stands for Filipino Transfer Student Partnership at UCLA. And I'll pass it off to Jordan, who is my fellow board member.
Sorry. Okay, sorry about that. My Wi-Fi cut out for a second. Hopefully it doesn't do that too much after this. Um, but yeah, my name is Jordan Medina. My pronouns are he, him, his. Um, was it? I'm a sociology major here at UCLA. As for career goal, um, actually just trying to be pretty open-ended and flexible to test out a couple different careers and see what I like. As for responsibilities I have outside of the classroom, I'm on executive board for two clubs here. One of them is the Filipino Transfer Student Partnership as the internal academic and retention coordinator, and I'm also the social chair for Westwind, our Journal of the Arts here at UCLA.
Thank you both, or all three of you, for sharing. Our next question is, in addition to identifying as Filipino, Filipina, or Filipinx, what other identities are important for you and why?
I can start off this one. Aside from identifying as Filipina, I think one important one for me is being a first generation college student. Both of my parents never finished college, so it was really like a big thing for me to not only go to GCC, but also move on to UCLA. And adding off of that, another identity that is important to me is also being a transfer. I feel like not really people like acknowledge that as an identity, but it's important for me because it shows like my journey in higher education. So that was just something that stuck out to me, like in identifying myself.
Hi, I'll go next. Some other identities are important to me as on top of being Filipino. Obviously, son, brother, friend to many people. Being a transfer is a big part of their experience as well. I am a writer. Go figure, the whole Westwind Journal thing. I am, ally out for the LGBTQ community, as well as, I consider myself a feminist as well. And remember when I was here at GCC, I was part of the feminist club, which is a good club to be in as well. Yeah, I mean, that's just like a couple things that I also identify as. I'm sure more, but yeah, that's the ones that come up off the top of my head. Um,
And I can go last. So I identify as mestiza, which is in the Philippines, that means mixed. So I do have some American blood in me. My great grandfather was American. And so I think my family and I kind of have that mixed Filipino experience, which is different and I think unique in some ways. I'm a sister, daughter, friend, like what Jordan said, and an ally as well.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Yeah, it's so funny that TikTok always comes up for me too. Thank you for sharing. It's amazing to see. I mean, on top of everything that you identify with and the things that you're interested in, and your the different roles you're all playing as well. And UCLA, it's very intense in the balancing of it also. It's pretty interesting and pretty amazing to see. So I'm wondering what your experience was like as a Filipino student here at Glendale Community College.
I'll start off for this one. Was it so my main involvement at GCC was being part of the scholars program, and I mean the population of it had its fair share of Filipinos, but I feel like we were still pretty fragmented identity at GCC. We didn't really have that big like cultural org, at least I wasn't part of it. So as for being Filipino, it wasn't really something I got to focus on all that much at my time at community college. Whether or not that's based off of just like opportunity or just the nature of getting involved with other people at school. Um, but yeah, as a Filipino, I didn't really regard it too much when I was there, unfortunately. Um, and you know, it's always great to take advantage of whatever cultural opportunities you get. So uh, it would it could have been a missed opportunity for myself.
I can go next. So when I was at GCC, I was involved in student government, or ASGCC. And when I was running for office as part of student government, one of the, I guess, main points that my campaign and I ran on was like the issue of diversity. I recognized that there were some challenges with recruitment for Asian students, specifically Filipino students in student government. And whether that was a matter of just the demographic of the school or who was voting, or just how well some people were known. That was really one of the biggest issues for me when I was running. And so when I finally got into office, one of the things that I wanted to do as a Filipino student was try to recruit more people. But I found that recruitment in general was just really hard for the Filipino community at GCC. Even as part of Familia, or Filipino Club, it was really hard to just keep people involved, because we're not necessarily a small community, but we are somewhat fragmented and just different regions or different people, and we just all have different identities. And so it's really hard to kind of get everybody to identify with this one label. And so that was something that I found as a Filipino student at GCC, was like I was able to really connect to my cultural identity, but that wasn't necessarily the case for everybody else. And so just having to learn that everybody's having these different experiences was something that was really unique to me at GCC.
Thank you guys. Yeah, I feel like at least for me, I kind of had a mix of both of your experiences, because I was involved in like a couple of different spaces, such as like the Scholars Program, ASGCC, and also Familia. Like I got to interact with Filipinos at my time here, and like during my time at GCC, a lot of it was online, and I feel like that was a big part of why it was so hard to like maintain retention, at least in Familia. But I feel like that experience kind of opened like the door for me to join like Filipino clubs or Filipino spaces later on, like in college. So I would say like overall I had a general like positive experience as a Filipina here at GCC. But there's definitely like things that I wish I could have done more just to make like a bigger community, at least for like myself and my peers. But Yeah, and then just overall, like we do have like I feel like GCC has like a general like good population of Filipinos, just as to that like a lot of us are first generation students and like we're all busy, so there's also that factor as well.
Mhm. And to kind of add on to what Erica was saying is that there's a really at least the Filipino faculty at GCC, faculty and staff at GCC have just been really incredibly supportive throughout, I think, at least our process of just trying to find ourselves. And it's really nice to see yourself like represented, whether that's like in a classroom. Shout out to Tita Hazel or Hazel Ramos, who's in the room right now. Just like making us feel seen and represented, whether it's a teacher or a counselor, or just anybody in administration, just helping us kind of feel like we belong. I think that was something that was really special about just being Filipino at GCC.
Thank you for sharing. So we actually have questions in the chat that was sent to me. I think this one was for Jordan. When did you take like your identity into consideration, if at all, at any point?
Yeah, so I mean, I feel like it was like a very like on and off kind of like relationship with identity. I mean, I consider myself a couple things, but it's kind of like Erica said, it's kind of hard to like ground yourself when so much of it was online. I feel like one part of coming back in person that was really great was being able to like, you know, visually see like the community and see other Filipinos, other people who look like me, and it was a really important thing. Um, but also just like people, I have a great support system, and they pushed me to make sure that I included myself in spaces such as PTSP. And my like was a shout out to my roommate who made sure that I went to this event that basically got me to where I am today. Wow, like in my Filipino transfer student partnership. So I mean, we all have a very personal journey on like, you know, uptaking our cultural identity. And I mean, it's always good to have it, but we're also all at our own, you know, pace to acknowledge it and, you know, appreciate it. I feel like, yeah, I grew up very American. I was the first one born in America of my family, and that made me feel like pretty out of touch with my culture, at least growing up. But you know, now as an adult, I'm given the opportunity to like really reach out to this community and really take advantage of the opportunities around me instead of just, you know, being an American in American school and all that.
Yeah, I mean, the assimilation is huge. That can occur, you know, as our parents might migrate to the States, and then they might expect us to assimilate. And so some of that culture could be lost, but now you can just like revitalize that life of and that identity of yourself too. Yeah, thank you for that, Jordan.
Yeah.
Thank you. Another question we had was, what do you think would help keep Filipino students involved, whether it's within the Familia Club or any other club on campus, if you hadn't seen that before?
I can answer this one. I think in my experience, representation is a huge thing. So just being able to see yourself in spaces. When Erica and I joined ASGCC or student government, we were really fortunate that one of the vice presidents at the time was Filipina. And she really, whether she knew it or not, she really helped us, or at least me, feel like seen, and just made my ideas feel valid. And so I think as far as like retention goes, just that's a really important thing. It's just the representation aspect. But also I think as far as like just getting involved in general, you just have to be able to take that first step. And even if you're the first one in a space or the first one in any like meeting or club that doesn't really, and you're the first one that has a certain identity, I think that's like a really brave step, but it also paves the path for future generations and for people like me who, if I hadn't seen a Filipina in ASGCC or in student government, I don't know if I would have joined.
Yeah, thank you. Did anyone else want to add on?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like that's at least for me and Jordan, like having like people that I knew, like I don't know if you guys know this, but like we've known each other like since high school. So like seeing just like people and Filipino people like I know was also like something that encouraged me to get out in these spaces. And like I know it's like at least for me personally, it was really scary to like join other spaces where I knew I would be like the only Filipino or Filipinx person. So yeah, having like representation is also so very important just because like it gives you like that sense of familiarity, I think, and like comfort to know that someone's kind of just going through the same things as you.
Mm. Yeah, it's major that representation is so significant, even if it's just that one person
Mhm.
or your peers, like it really does make a difference. Yeah. Jordan, did you want to add anything to that?
I mean, yeah, representation. I think kind of in a similar vein, um, exposure, just making sure that like you're in a position to be able to like see and be able to see all of that. I mean, we can only do so much if you're not accepting of your community. And I think community is one of the really great defining like aspects of, I mean, like not only the Filipino like identity, but like any identity, of course. So yeah, it's just good to make sure that you are at least open to it if you're not.
Okay. Thank you, Jordan. Yeah. So one of the questions, allyship, yes. Ally, yeah. One of the questions that we also had in vein of your experience at GCC is, do you think GCC was able to prepare you for UCLA in your experience?
Yeah, I can start with this question. I think it was, at least from an academic perspective, I think so. Um, GCC was really good at, I guess, at least my experience at GCC, Jordan mentioned the scholars program, just having that cohort of other individuals that are also transfer bound was really nice. Um, and I think academically as well, if you kind of have a plan for what your major is or for what your professional goals are, it's a lot easier to navigate the system. But I think one thing that I guess is a struggle at any school, especially even at UCLA, it's a struggle, is just figuring out what that is and what you want to do. But once you know, it's kind of smooth sailing.
Mm.
Yeah, no, I love that. Same thing for me. Like, I feel like GCC taught me like a couple things. One of them being it's like it taught me to be independent, but also it taught me like how to ask for help and like use the resources that were like available to me. I feel like I went into GCC like, oh, I'm gonna do all this on my own, blah blah blah. I'm not gonna need to go to anybody. I'm just gonna get out of here in 2 years, and then that'll be it. But like the people that I met along the way, the people that helped me overcome struggles, and the people that guided me to get to where I am today, like that was kind of the most important part at GCC for me. And then also on the academic side, I always tell this to people that are they're going to transfer, because a lot of the times like you go from semester to quarter. I always tell them, if you took a 5-week class at GCC, you'll be fine with like the quarter system. So I definitely think it like prepared me very well to at least like the change in academic pace. Um, and just overall, I think it taught me to, it's okay. It taught me that it's okay to like not know what you want to do, right? I feel like, again, I struggled with not only identity, but like my career goals as well. I went into GTC like literally with no idea what I wanted to do, but now at least I have kind of an idea. So just learning that it's okay to fail. And if you do, it's fine.
Yeah, and for me, some of my main takeaways from GCC, three things similar in what you said, Erica, is it really gave us the opportunity to like find ourselves and figure out what we want to do. I'm not going to GCC necessarily knowing what major I want to be, so it gave me the opportunity to like test things out and really explore that. To self-advocate and be able to like do all the stuff. In high school, I had good grades, and I don't think I did too much other than get good grades. But then moving forward into like adulthood and college and GCC, it really gave me the opportunity to like grow in more ways than just academic. Um, and then third, GCC taught me how to walk up really steep hills, and UCLA also has really steep hills. So that's something that GCC taught me how to do.
Yes, climbing up those stairs, the downstairs is not easy sometimes. So thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing to see how inclusive you felt, and how GCC had prepared you even in ways that you might not have expected to. I know we have, oh, go ahead, Erica.
Oh, no, I just wanted to also add that like one thing that I also like hold like near and dear to my heart is also like the leadership skills that like GCC taught me. I feel like because I was involved in different spaces, it also like allowed me to develop an open mind. Like one unique thing about going to a CC is that you get to work with a lot of different people from different backgrounds, and like not to say that you don't really do that at like UCs or Cal States. It's just that like everyone's kind of like on their own journey here, and it was really awesome to like work with a lot of different people and like better understand like our community.
Mm.
Yeah, to kind of add on to that, Erica, I think as far as like leadership and independence goes, being at a small college first really helped me develop the confidence to speak to adults, which I know I'm technically an adult and most college students are technically adults. But just having that confidence to know that you're going to be heard was really important and impactful for me going into UCLA. Like even speaking to my advisors now at UCLA, like I have the confidence and the professional awareness to be able to do that because of the experiences that I had here at a community college first. And I think that's so important for everybody to learn.
Thank you for pointing that out. I think that's so vital because it gives you a further sense of belonging as you were able to transition right over to UCLA for sure. Thank you for sharing. So we do have questions in the chat. I'm going to get to those because some of those questions that you have in the chat are the questions that we have prepared for today. So we'll mix them in there. So for our next question, we want to know just if you could describe what the transfer process was like for you.
I can start this one. I think like on the academic side, it was just more about like designing classes like that would fit like the assist website, so that like you could basically take classes that were for the major that you were attempting to apply for. And I think like for me it was seeing like counselors like at least like once a quarter and just keeping updated with on like if I was doing the right classes and if it was like on the right path, and just making sure like checking, triple checking, like quadruple checking, like if I was doing everything right, I had like all my requirements done. And I like for me like when it came to like scheduling, I was scheduling it around like a part-time job, like my own responsibilities, and I think that was kind of like the beauty of like going there. I had like more like freedom to basically choose my schedule. As for the transfer process, like the actual like literal application, I feel like it was just like a lot of revising. Writing is a process, at least for me. I go back to things over and over again just to make sure it sounds right, and also like just reviewing it with other people. I feel like that's kind of the best way to write, when other people read your writing, when you reread your writing, so it's like perfect and pristine.
As far as like the application process goes, I really learned how to be honest in my writing through that process, because so much of that the application is just telling a story and telling the readers a story about your life. And I had to learn how to just put all of those feelings on paper in a professional way without oversharing. So I think that was something that I learned. And like Erica said, like the process of revising and having people reread your writing was really helpful. As far as like the transfer process itself, besides the application, it was a little bit of a challenge for me personally. I got really connected to the GCC community. And then when I went to UCLA, I kind of felt like a little bit untethered. like I didn't really have that community, and I had to kind of find ways and spaces to feel like that I was connected again. And eventually I did, but it took a little bit of getting used to. And so that part of the transfer process was difficult for me, but it all worked out. And found my community, found my people, and so it's a lot better now.
Hi, and I feel like I was pretty fortunate with how the whole going to community college and then the transfer process all went down for me. I it just became part of my habits to be able to like talk about it, and just with all the experience I ended up garnering and being able to collect and accumulate, it really set me up well to be able to be ready to transfer. So overall, just the transfer process was pretty pleasant actually, especially because I felt like I had some almost like a sense of security. I felt like I was well prepared and had the tools and done the things I had to do to transfer somewhere that I would be happy with. And now I'm here at UCLA and I'm pretty happy with it. So
Yeah, amazing. So I'm in the chat, we're wondering, what are some support systems that you used as you were like doing your application, or preparing like before you transferred to UCLA?
uh, traditional UCLA students. I have friends who went in and as not transfers, and they clearly got in already one time, so they can help me out, and that was a pretty nice resource to have to be able to lean on. Connections are always important to have, just even if they're just friends and they just want to like read over your UCSA and just check over that, and just having friends in general to keep you accountable during this process is really nice. I didn't really have that during high school. Um, Nobody really told me that college app season was a thing, so I was like, I was not well prepared for it. But you know, second time around, more prepared for it.
I can go next. I feel like definitely my counselors here. Um, Shout out to Kevin Mesa and Kevin Dimatulak, my faves. I met with them so many times because I was just so like set on like having them read my essays, and like thank God like they took the time to do so. I'm like literally still so grateful for it. Not even just like the application process, it was just like them being there for me like whenever I had questions. So like for me, my support system was going to like counselors and having them just like, like talk just about anything having to do with college, and even like after like they were always very like welcoming to me, so I appreciate it. um I think another one for me at least was the scholars program as well. I think for me it helped me like know a lot of the information that I needed to know about the transfer process, and also just being with a community of transfers. Like it was nice for people to check in and be like, hey, have you guys filled out the TAP application or started looking at like the questions that you want to do? So just kind of like being in the same boat with everyone and like talking to counselors was really helpful for me in the transfer process.
Yeah, I would echo what both Jordan and Erica said. I think counselors really helped. And just even if the other students weren't necessarily in scholars, just other people that were also going through the process really helped, and kind of that transfer network really helped me personally, because I could check in with my friends who were also applying and see like, oh, are we all on the same deadline, the same timeline? Because it really is about just managing your time right before that deadline hits and before you have to submit those applications. So just knowing other people who are going through the process is really helpful.
Right. It's like, oh, okay, you haven't answered question number 2 yet. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Like, we're on the same page. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that community is really important. It's really supportive too. So yeah, definitely. Thank you for sharing. Okay, Elise, you kind of touched on this question, but we're wondering just like what are some personal struggles and challenges you face while at GCC, if any? And also like as you transition to UCLA, and how did you overcome those challenges?
Yeah, so I can kind of elaborate a little bit more on that one. So, at GCC, I didn't really face that many challenges. I still kind of felt like it was homey. It was still Glendale. Like I knew where everything was. I knew where I could go across the street to get food. And so I didn't really have that many like personal challenges while I was at GCC. So that just kind of amplified the challenges at UCLA, like feeling like I didn't have that kind of community initially within the first quarter was really difficult. But then being able to find friends or just talk to classmates, I would always get really happy in my classes if someone else said they were a transfer. And I think that was really, again, it's the whole representation thing that was really powerful to know that there were other transfer students there, because even if we didn't come from the same community college, like we knew that we had a shared experience. So like one of my friends now at UCLA transferred from Fullerton Community College. And we just sat next to each other on the first day of school. And I just looked at her and I was like, "Are you also transfer?" She said yes. And so now like we were able to like just take similar classes because she was also a history major. So just being able to find those people, because they're around, but we just don't have like big flashing neon signs above our head that say transfer. So you just have to ask and be willing to talk to people. And non-transfers are really nice too. They're great.
I can go next for this question. Yeah, kind of similar to Elise. I feel like, okay, let me back here. Sorry. At GCC, I feel like what I struggled with the most was like just like the fact that like most of my experience there was online. It was like helpful and not helpful. Like for one thing, like it helped me kind of just like schedule things better because I didn't have to like walk to places. So that was a plus. It was the negative of that was just that like it was kind of hard for me to pay attention in class sometimes. But overall, I think I did okay in terms of grades. I'm here now, so it's fine. But after I transferred, I kind of feel like I went through the same thing as Elise. Like it was overwhelming for me just because the Filipino clubs here are just so much bigger and like everyone kind of knows each other. It gets like overwhelming at times. So as like a transfer, I was really like timid, which I thought was weird because I'm very extroverted. And like when I was put into these spaces, like it, not that it didn't make me feel welcome, it just made me feel like, oh, like kind of everyone knows each other. Like, I don't know if I should be here, right? But you know, like as I got to know more people and like become more familiar with the spaces, like I realized like everyone is just like trying to help each other out. Like just last week, or like I think 2 3 weeks ago, Jordan and I helped facilitate like a transfer allyship session. So it was really nice to know that like people are supporting like the Filipino and transfer community. So that was like really special. Um, and I think like another struggle, kind of off topic, just walking. I didn't realize how much walking on school campus was until like I would get home and I would be so tired and I would only go to one class, but the hills here are vicious, as Jordan mentioned. So that was something I also struggled with.
Yeah, similarly to Erica, we're both very extroverted people, and that it's very much different environments in a way. At GCC, obviously, it's much like a lot smaller, and I was involved in less clubs and all of that. And part of me was kind of empowered by the fact that like, oh, it's so small, it's kind of like homey. So I kind of went out of my way to like talk to people and like help my friends talk to other people. Especially because I had like my like the people I went to community college with, such as like Erica and Elise and some of my other friends, but also I wanted to have the opportunity to reach out and like meet and talk to other people. But then once I get to UCLA and it's already all this big and everybody has so much more energy than me, or like they match me, they're also extroverted. It just like, whoa, it feels overwhelming. I'm not like the most loud person in the room anymore. And that's a pretty interesting struggle to have. And it makes it hard to know like which friendships are really important and which friendships are just like gonna be things that I'm supposed to maintain and sustain. And that's still like a work in progress. I still don't really know my place in a lot of people's hearts, but also that's college sometimes. And also like we kind of touched on kind of like imposter syndrome, like, oh, do I really deserve to be here? I feel so different, especially being a transfer. It's a different experience than being a traditional student. It's where we come in here with half the time basically from in most cases, and we have to find our own community because in some cases it's not gonna just like come to us because we didn't come in as freshmen and we didn't get to have the same experience as everybody else or have the liberty of unlimited time, well not unlimited time but like what feels like so much longer. I mean 4 years feels like a long time, 2 years feels so much less than that sometimes. um, and those are just things that we have to like work on mentality wise. um, you know, we are just as deserving to be here. We got accepted. We are capable students who are able to make friends and make these connections and get somewhere with like by going to UCLA, by being a transfer. Yeah, there's a couple of struggles, but nothing that I would like say takes away.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. We actually have a follow-up in the chat from Nusha. Is there anything you think GCC could help prepare for that overwhelming feeling in terms of the transition to UCLA or any four-year university?
Yeah, no, I love this question because this is what I kind of went through. I think my advice is kind of just to start off small, like or at least like in smaller spaces. Like for me, what I would do is like maybe ask around like in my classes, like, oh, does anyone want to do like a study session or like, I don't know, go out to eat after class? Like it doesn't have to be like huge masses of people unless that's what you're into. But just finding like a good couple set of friends. They don't have to be super close. Like don't expect to like find your best friend like 5 minutes when you walk through the door at UCLA, right? But also get involved with different spaces. I feel like especially kind of at UCLA, you might be able to get trapped in like a bubble of like certain people. But yeah, just definitely interact with like different spaces and try new things at like I think at any college like there's something going on almost every day. So just also like explore the campus, campus resources, just things that are going around like the neighborhood, explore like food places, um and just overall just take care of yourself, because you're not going to be able to be your best in like all these different places if you're not taking care of yourself. So take care of yourself is number one for me at least.
And I think one thing that GCC can do specifically, or people at GCC can do, is just remember that like, or when people are giving advice, like remember that everyone's a student or that students are students. And that if you're remembering like your experiences at UCLA, just like those experiences and those stories really help us as students kind of understand what the transition might be like. So even if you give like kind of the brutally honest truth about what UCLA was like for you, I think that really helps. At least that helped me. Like just I remember I got a call from an advisor, from my GCC advisor when I first got to UCLA, and she was like, well, I didn't make that many friends on my first week of school or in my first month of school. It took me a while. And just hearing that honesty really helped me feel like I was in the right place and that like I wasn't falling behind in my first week of school. And then also I think just like keeping in touch with any students that have already transferred, that's really important just because like we're all kind of like figuring it out, and just to hear a nice voice from GCC or somebody that was a mentor from GCC really helps, kind of helped, at least it helped me feel like I wasn't alone.
I think something that, I mean, all schools could always generally use more of is, you know, spirit. I mean, there's obviously a lot of Bruin pride at UCLA, but sometimes it's hard to like be excited as excited when you're at community college, even though it's still a very enriching process and there's still lots to take away from it. And that's important because if you want to prepare yourself for everything being bigger or more overwhelming, you need to like have, you know, gotten towards that in some sense. And that looks like if we have spirit, then you are engaged with your community. And if you're engaged with your community, that means retention and being closer with everybody else and just really getting somewhere you want to be. And with that, with like if GCC is more, you know, empowered in its identity, then the transition won't feel all that much more different, because then you're at UCLA and you're, you know, you're a proud transfer and you have the abilities and the habits and all that you need to transition.
Wait, I kind of wanted to add off of that, like, in terms of like being or like preparation for like, I guess like the overwhelmingness of transferring. Again, like my advice is to get involved now, like at GCC, like that. Again, we talked about it earlier. Like that was what helped me like kickstart like, you know, being involved in like bigger spaces. So if you're involved here, like the transition should be a little bit easier. I'm not gonna say it's like gonna be like the greatest experience, at least for me. It wasn't like super awesome, but yeah, just know that everyone kind of like goes through it as well. So I'm being honest.
Mhm. Thank you. Yeah. Did you want to add something, Elise? I saw. No, okay. Yeah, I mean that's very vital. The overwhelming feeling can occur a lot. And I really like what you're saying, Jordan, that spirit, the feeling of trying to create those connections. Yeah. Um, a follow-up question that we kind of had that kind of goes into this too is just what you would recommend to the college to provide support specifically for Filipinx students.
I can start with this one. I think so there's a lot of I guess culture specific or group specific counseling options at GCC. So like La Comunidad is an option, Black Scholars. I know we also have like a Rising Scholars program for formerly incarcerated students. And I think it would be really nice if there was an option like that for Filipino students, even if it's counseling through a club or just like mentorship through a club. I think that that network is so important, because I think if we had had a community here at GCC that did that specifically, it would make the transition to another community like that at UCLA less overwhelming, because it's like you're already used to having that network of support, so that the network of support at UCLA is a little less foreign.
I think I don't know if the GCC Familia is still active, but that definitely like played a part in like embracing and like acknowledging my Filipinx identity. So again, like as Elise said, like just having like a space where like we can like talk about experiences and just connect with each other and just, you know, like hang out. And then also just like having a support system through that is very helpful.
Thank you. Anything you wanted to add, Jordan?
Yeah. Was it specific components? Was it that potential part? I think, you know, just being realistic with, you know, the choice like that people would want to transfer out, especially to somewhere such as UCLA, because we have the tap and tag program and it is something that a lot of GCC students will want to do. I feel like something that could be really helpful would just be just like being very like informational and being able to like feed people in on what this experience is like, in some way, because, you know, just knowing more about your options is really great. I don't know if there's a way to get GCC to like tour UCLA. I don't know if that was an opportunity we had before, but they're doing tons of tours all the time over here. And I don't know, I didn't tour UCLA before I got here, but it probably would have done me good. I only toured like one campus because it was only like easily accessible for me to like tour one campus. But it's just good to be able to like have those resources and like just knowledge is power kind of thing.
I can also add to that. I feel like also representation in an academic sense, like, was helped me like transition into like these spaces, like seeing Filipinx staff having I remember that Elise took, I think it was a Filipino history class with Tita Hazel. Just like things like that. Like I remember her telling me and I was like, whoa, wait, that's so cool. I didn't get to take it unfortunately, but if I could go back, I definitely would. Also that like maybe like a language class, just like to recognize that like Filipinx people belong in like these academic settings, I think would help people like have a better sense of belonging at GCC.
Mike DeLay is so happy that you said that, Erica. He was actually the one who said, if we offered this class, would you have taken it at GCC? And how important is language to you? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I am like almost like second generation and like I basically know no Tagalog. So like that definitely would have been something I would have wanted to take, like a Tagalog 1 class. It sounds scary, but I really would have been like happy to have that.
Yeah, I'm taking a Tagalog class at UCLA, and it's a class with 80 something people in it. So that connection to the instructor is like not the same as it would have been at a community college or just in a smaller setting where you get to speak with a native speaker on a regular basis, instead of having to compete with like 80 other voices.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay. So for our next question, we have, what is one thing you wish people knew about the Filipinx community?
I could start. Sorry. Oh shit. Sorry. Oh no. Sorry. uh, um, reset. Visibility. I think it's just like, hey, it's really great to know that we exist. Um, it's a really rich culture and that has a lot to it. And we're fortunate that Glendale has a good bit of Filipinos, and then there's a lot of like Filipinos at UCLA as well. But not a lot of places have that visibility. Not everybody knows what it's like. So that's just I wish there was just like more that, and one of the great ways to present that is through culture and being able to show off like, oh yeah, we have a lot to us. I know not to advertise some stuff at UCLA, but we have a thing called SBCM, which is our cultural night, and it just goes to show like how much there is to us, and it's a very passionate community as well. So I just with that, I feel like there's a lot of it's a good medium to translate towards people who Filipino.
I can go next. I think one thing would want people to know about the Filipino community is we're not all nurses. I know it's kind of it's an unfortunate stereotype. It's just a lot of long history of Filipino nurses in the United States, and even though that might be somebody's Filipino person's dream profession, I think we are capable of a lot more than that. Not to diminish the nursing profession in any way, shape, or form. I think, but just if we're given opportunities to prove ourselves in other areas besides the medical field or besides nursing specifically, I think that's something that's really important. I know a few people at UCLA who when they tell people they're doctors, there's the people are surprised that they're not going into nursing, and it's just like diminishing what they're capable of because of this like unfortunate perception that all we can be is nurses, and that's not the case.
Yeah, deviating from like pigeonholing one individual group into one individual area.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely.
Thank you, Elise.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like, I don't know, I had like a weird experience from like that specifically, at least, because like when I came to UCLA and like I would ask around like for people's majors, I feel like less and less I hear like STEM majors, which I think is like awesome and funny as well, because like it just shows that people are becoming like, more open to exploring new things, and I think that's so awesome. But like one thing I really want people to know about the Filipinx community is that like again, we don't all have the same experience. I'm thinking about like a time, I think it was like last year, I was talking to another fellow transfer, and she told me that like she had never even like seen like or like had a Filipino club either at their community college or high school. And like that was just so crazy to me because I had one at my community college and my high school. And just to know that like there are Filipino people where they're like kind of like alone is like devastating to me. Like just like knowing that not everyone has the same experience. Like I know that like all three of us like kind of grew up in Glendale and like we had like a pretty, I would say like solid community, but just recognizing that like that wasn't the same for everyone, right?
Yeah, definitely. And trying to create, I mean, it's hard because it might be a student who was out in an area where like it's not a large Filipinx population and maybe that's not available, or they just didn't have like the services that we were lucky to have with Familia as a club, which we are trying to restart too. So yeah, it's major for sure. Thank you. Okay, and then our last question that I have for today is, what is one piece of advice you would give to other students on campus, especially Filipinx students?
I can go first with this one. I have just a general piece of advice for any student, and then I'll get into the more specific one for Filipino students. As a transfer student, you don't have to be the loudest person or have the highest leadership position to be recognized at UCLA. You don't have to get that, you don't have to chase that title or that accolade. You just have to really do well in school. And there's this perception at UCLA that like the loudest person is the one that's most successful, and in a classroom that's not always the case. So just being able to develop those networks, even if it's not in like the loud and showy way, I think that's something that you guys can do, or if there's any students in the room, that's something you can do, is just like develop those networks. Um, Even if it's in a quiet way, even if it's just talking to your professor during office hours, just yeah, you don't have to be the loudest person in the room to be recognized. And that's something that I just recently learned, and I just want everybody to know that. Um, and so you do have to try to put yourself out there, but you don't have to, be the loudest person in the room. And so I'm an introvert, so that advice applies to introverts. I know my two extrovert friends might disagree with me. um, but yeah, that's just my experience. So
No, I love that. I truly love that. Again, I don't know, like I feel like that's also something that was like a problem for me. Like I was so used to being like, you know, loud and blah blah blah. And then when I came to these spaces, it was just like no one knows who I am. LOL. Um, but like yeah, just accepting like, you're growing as a person. I think my piece of advice is like it's okay to fail. I failed so many times, but like, when you fail, like you grow. Just like learn from your mistakes, like and like aim to do better. Like everyone is just also everyone is going through it. That's like a big one for me. Like everyone is kind of just going through their own thing, and just like be mindful of that. Like if you're having a bad day, you don't have to like take it out on other people. Just be kind to one another and be honest. That's my advice.
Hi, and if I had to give advice, and this is good if you're an introvert or an extrovert, um, is um, honestly like your community is your strength. I mean, like I said, I'm like very American, and um, it's like not the most uncommon thing for Filipino Americans to feel embarrassed of their personality as their identity, but it's just really important to see your community and welcome it with open arms because it's there for you and it will take care of you, both Filipino and just transfers and anywhere.
Thank you all. Amazing. Thank you so much for that advice. I just wanted to open really quickly if anybody had any last minute questions. We got some busy college students in front of us with so many things on their plate. So I wanted to just give it a chance to if anybody else has a follow-up questions or comments that they would like to give to Elise, Erica, or Jordan today. Yes, Uncle John, the future is bright with the new breed. Amazing.
Yeah, call me Lolo now.
Yeah, thank you all. All right, thank you so much. I really appreciate all three of you being here today and taking time from all the different roles that you're playing in your life today. So I really do appreciate it. So thank you so much for being here. And thank you everyone for attending our last event in recognition of our Filipinx American History Month. I put the Glendale Community College, Cultural Diversity website for events that we're going to be having for our Native American Heritage Month. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you. Aw.
Thank you everyone for listening. I appreciate it. Heart.
Thank you,
CC.
everybody.
Yay. Thank you all. Oh, everyone's so sweet.
Jordan, Erica, thank you guys. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, thank
you.
you.
Of course, of course. We'll hang out soon.
Yes.
I'm sorry, was there a sign-in sheet?
Oh, yes, there was.
I didn't sign in. My name is Carmen Mirzoyan.
I'll
I
sign
work-
in, Carmen.
Yeah, thank you so much, the
Mhm.
SPS. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Carmen.
Everyone, it was a very nice panel. I loved it. Thank you. Bye.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it. Have a good rest of your day.
All right, thank you guys. I'll see you soon. Good luck with midterms, finals, and everything.
Yeah, I know.
Yes,
Happy
all-
holidays.
Thank you for spending the time with us. Bye.
I'll see you
Bye.
later. Bye.